Hello again, everyone. This is the third video in the victims section of Canada's Highway of Tears for the missing and murdered Indigenous women. This list is very long, and it's only around one section, one area. There's so many missing Native women and girls out there. This is truly a sad thing, and it needs to come to an end. Beverly Warbrick, missing, no age listed. Prince George, 2007 in June. Went missing from the 2100 block of Oak Street in Prince George in June 2007. Bonnie Marie Joseph, 32, missing, Vanderhoof, 2007, September. Bonnie, a mother of 5, was last seen in Vanderhoof on the afternoon of September 8, 2007, by her cousin Joanne. She was seen hitchhiking from Vanderhoof to Prince George, where she had a court date the next day. She was nearing the end of a series of court dates to get her children back from the government. She was close to getting her children back and never missed a single court date until September 9th. She was reported missing in December 2007 by her Aunt Rose. Police say she led a high-risk lifestyle and was known to hitchhike alone between Fort St. James, Vanderhoof, and Prince George. Thus, her case matches all criteria for an EPANA investigation, but was not chosen as part of the EPANA list for unknown reasons. Her family considers her disappearance to be out of character. According to her cousin Vanessa, before Bonnie was reported missing and after she was last seen, her wallet and ID were found near a lake with an uncashed check still in it. It was turned into RCMP, who reported this discovery to Bonnie Joseph's sister Sharon a year later. Brittany Gleese, 19, homicide, Prince George, 2008, October. On October 7, 2008, police were alerted by phone to a house on Weber Crescent in Prince George, where Brittany Gleese and Garrett McComb were found dead. It was reported in the Globe and Mail that the deaths were gang-related. Jill Stacy Stuchenko, 35, homicide, Prince George, October 2009. Her body was found in October 2009 in a gravel pit on the outskirts of Prince George. She had died from multiple blows to the head. She was known to be engaged in sex work. She left behind 5 children. Cody Lejbakov was arrested on the 27th of November 2010 and convicted of first-degree murder on September 11, 2014. Lejbakov was also convicted of first-degree murder in the deaths of Lauren Dawn Leslie, Cynthia Frances Moss, and Natasha Lynn Montgomery. In September 2016, the BC Court of Appeal confirmed the original conviction. Lejbakov was age 20 when he was arrested. Emily Rose McLean, 16, unknown, Prince Rupert, 2010 of April. McLean's body was found by a passerby on the afternoon of Saturday, April 10, 2010. Her body was found partially submerged in the Prince Rupert Harbor between Northwest Fuels barge and Ocean Royal Fish Plant. It was reported that McLean was with people the night before when she was last seen alive. It was also reported that the people she was with that night were not people she could trust 100%. Some she could trust, but not all of them. An autopsy was performed with preliminary findings indicating cause of death as drowning. Although the police have not called this a homicide, they have stated that they have not ruled out foul play. Natasha Lynn Montgomery, 23, homicide, Prince George, August 2010. Montgomery was last heard from August 26, 2010, when she called her parents to touch base. She was known to be engaged in sex work. Natasha's body has never been found, but her DNA was discovered on serial killer Cody Lechbikoff's shorts, hoodie, axe, and throughout his apartment. Cody Lechbikoff was arrested on the 27th of November 2010 and convicted of first-degree murder on September 11th, 2014. Cynthia Frances Moss, 35, homicide, Prince George, September 2010. The remains of Cynthia Frances Moss was found in L.C. Gun Park near Prince George on October 9th at approximately 2 a.m. Moss was last seen September 10th in the area of Juniper Street and 19th Avenue in Prince George. She was reported missing by family members and friends on 23rd of September after she failed to check in with them. She had died from blunt force trauma and penetrating wounds to the chest. She was discovered by RCMP Kent McNeil. She had defense wounds and her pants were rolled down to her ankles. She was known to be engaged in sex work. Her head was almost completely skeletonized and detached from her neck at time of discovery. Cody Lechbikoff was arrested on 27th of November 2010 by RCMP officer Aaron Keller. I've already went over the ones that he was convicted of before. Linda Fredden, 56, homicide, Prince George, November 2010. Linda Fredden was trapped in her wheelchair when her home was consumed by fire on 24th of November 2010. She was transported to Vancouver General Hospital where she died 3 days later. Police believe that the crime may have been linked to gang violence. Lauren Dawn Leslie, 15, homicide, Vanderhoof, 2010, November. Was an acquaintance of serial killer Cody Lechbikoff, whom she met online. Her body was found in November 2010 on a remote logging road just off Highway 27 near Fort St. James. Lechbikoff was pulled over by police on the 27th of November 2010 and was in possession of Lauren's belongings and covered in Lauren's blood. I've already went over his info. Chastity Charlie, 17, Burns Lake, homicide, January 2011. Burns Lake RCMP were called to an Uncha Mountain Road home at approximately 3:45 p.m. on January 26, 2011, following the report of an unconscious girl at the home. The girl's mother, Geraldine Charlie, said her face was burnt, half of her hair was gone, and her cell phone is missing. In May 2012, a 17-year-old Burns Lake male was charged with second-degree murder in connection with the death of Chastity Charlie. The male was known to Chastity. Madison Geraldine Scott, 20, missing, Vanderhoof, 2011 May. Madison was last seen during the early morning hours of May 28, 2011 at Hogsback Lake, 25 kilometers southeast of Vanderhoof. Maddie vanished after attending a party at Hogsback Lake with a friend, Jordy Bolduc. According to her own testimony, Jordy left Maddie there because Jordy was drunk and injured, and Maddie, already settled in for the night, didn't want to leave her sleeping bag. Maddie last communicated with others at the party around 4 a.m. and was never heard from again. The next morning, Jordy went back to the campsite but didn't see Maddie. Jordy reported that she saw that Maddie's tent door was open and that the bedding was pushed to one side. Not thinking much of it, Jody went to work. More than a day later, Madison's parents went to check on Madison and reported her missing to the police shortly after discovering her abandoned truck and flattened tent at the lake. Numerous items of value were found on, in, and around the truck, which included unopened liquor, gasoline, motorbike equipment, camera, and purse. An iPhone 5 and a blue case and a set of keys with a Gothic-themed lanyard are among some of the items known to be missing. Police said that there was no sign of a struggle and that foul play is suspected. Maria Rego, 47, homicide, Kitimat. On October 9, 2011, around 7 a.m., Kitimat RCMP were called to the residents of the area of Whitesell Road for an alleged break and enter with assault, whereby officers found a man and a woman who had been assaulted and were in need of immediate medical help. The woman, Maria Rego, succumbed to her injuries and died 4 days later. The man, her husband, survived. A 19-year-old was arrested nearby without incident. Tyler Scott Eli was convicted to life imprisonment for second-degree murder on March 25, 2015. Unnamed, unknown, Telqua, November 2011. In the early morning of November 11th, 2011, police and medical first responders were called to a scene at a road in Telqua, where a woman was found in the middle of the road. The woman had received life-threatening injuries and later died in the hospital, said RCMP spokesperson Dan Muskaluk. Police are treating the death as possibly being criminal in nature and arrested an adult male who was found at the scene on police arrival. The man was taken into police custody Friday and released Saturday morning. Muskaluk said that the woman and the man knew each other. No charges were laid at the time. The woman's body was flown to Vancouver for an autopsy. The autopsy report was never released. April Rose Johnson, 16, homicide, Vanderhoof, December 2012. Johnson was shot on the afternoon of Thursday, December 20th, 2012, by her recently engaged fiancé, Kane said Pinner. The two had paid an unplanned visit to the home of Pinner's cousin, Richard Bourne, in the mid-afternoon to celebrate their engagement, as well as Bourne's birthday and the holiday season. Bourne's girlfriend, Patricia Heichert, also lived in the home, a single-wide mobile home in the 6200 block of McLeod Road in Vanderhoof. Penner claimed that the .22 caliber rifle which shot Johnson kind of just slipped, hit the counter, and went off. A ballistics expert testified during Penner's trial that the rifle was not prone to discharging when dropped. Johnson arrived at the hospital less than 10-minute drive away just before 4 p.m. Johnson was shot in the upper left abdomen, and because her health was declining rapidly, she was transferred by ambulance to the University Hospital of Northern British Columbia, where she died shortly before 2 a.m. on the 21st of December. Penner's Facebook page indicated that he was seeing another woman within 2 months of the shooting. On June 2015, Provincial Crown Council approved charges of manslaughter with a firearm and careless use of a firearm on 27-year-old Penner. The Crown also approved charges of careless storage of a firearm, careless use of a firearm, and unauthorized possession of a firearm against 38-year-old Bourne. The two were arrested shortly after charges were approved. Tara Leanne Williams, 40, homicide, Vanderhoof, 2013. On the 13th of January 2013, the body of Williams, along with Blaine Albert Barfoot, were found at the home in Vanderhoof, BC. Police suspect foul play and soon after asked public to come forward with any information if anyone had seen someone with recently acquired injuries to their hands or arms, such as defensive wounds. Destiny Ray Tom, 21. Homicide. Fraser Lake, March 2013. Was found dead on 23rd of March 2013 outside a home on the Nadine-Wooten First Nation in northern BC. She had been severely beaten. Destiny left behind one daughter. Garrett Stephen George was charged in February 2015 of second-degree murder in the case. George had a criminal record that includes convictions of assault, assault with a weapon, and assault causing bodily harm at Burns Lake and Prince George. Immaculate Mackey Mary Basil, 26, missing. Tatching, June 2013. Mother of 5-year-old son, Mackey, had recently broken up with the father of the child, her common-law husband, her family describing her as a homebody who wouldn't have drug problems. The night she went missing, she was at a house party on Thursday, 13th of June 2013, a 20-minute walk away from her house in Tatching. She left at midnight. She was last seen after the house party heading to a cabin in the Leo Creek area north of Tatching. According to police reports from interviews with the men, Mackey was with two men, one her cousin Keith and the other man named Victor, in a white truck, heading towards a cabin near Couche Reserve. They had been drinking and were going to pick up tin. When the truck got stuck after an accident, she separated from the two and headed for the cabin alone. This is what was told to the police by Keith and Victor. Mackey would usually call her sisters every day at 10 a.m. Her sister, Crystal, became alarmed after a few days of not receiving a call. Mackey was reported missing to the RCMP Monday, 17 June 2013 by Crystal. The RCMP came to Fort St. James to file a missing persons report on June 18, 2013. Mackey didn't bring an extra set of clothes or makeup, which she changed daily, and her family considered her disappearance to be out of character. The police had conducted a polygraph test on both Keith and Victor and reported that both were cooperative. A police psychologist also conducted an interview of both men and reported to the public there was nothing suspicious. Numerous witnesses reporting seeing Victor and Tachi at 10 a.m. June 14, 2013, the day of Mackey's disappearance, walking down the road, clothes wet up to his chest. Mackey went missing 1 hour's drive away by vehicle from Fort St. James at a place called 16 Kilometer. It is not known how Victor got back to Tachi so soon without a vehicle. Anita Florence Thorne, 49, missing, Prince George, November 2014. Thorne was reported missing in the evening of Wednesday, 19th November 2014 at 8:15 p.m. She was last seen that morning at Super Save Gas at 950 Victoria Street, then at a nearby Tim Hortons. RCMP found her car midday of the 20th at the turnoff to Willow River, 30 kilometers away from where she had last been seen. Her purse was inside the unlocked vehicle and visible, with nothing apparently missing. She is believed to have her keys, cigarettes, lighter, and cell phone, which had gone unanswered when called, in her possession. Anita was wearing a white hoodie with a black puffy vest, and with her brown hair up in a bun. She is Caucasian, 157 centimeters tall, weighing 66 kilograms, with brown eyes and brown shoulder-length hair. Numerous people described her as someone who would give the shirt off her back to help someone in need. Shirley Williams, 77, homicide, Grand Isle, 2016. RCMP shot and killed Shirley and her son Jovan Williams early on the afternoon of Thursday, April 21st, 2016. RCMP said they were called to a neighbor dispute involving a handgun at about 12:30 p.m. Police say they arrived at 1:22 p.m., surrounded the home, and tried to make contact with the residents. They say one person exited the home and confronted officers, and shots were fired at 2:50 p.m. A second person then exited the home and was confronted by police, and shots were fired again. RCMP say both people died after being attended to by paramedics who were nearby. A report released in 2018 by an independent civilian watchdog, the Independent Investigation Office, indicated that police used reasonable force to defend themselves, indicating that the police responded to the threat of Mr. Williams leveling a rifle and throwing a lit Molotov cocktail, in addition to the later threats of Miss Williams leveling a shotgun at the officers. The IIO report added that both victims' bodies and firearms found beside them, and there were the remains of the charred Molotov cocktail found nearby. Roberta Robin Marie Sims, 55, homicide, Prince George, May 2017. Sims, 55, was last seen by numerous witnesses on Saturday, May 6, 2017. She was seen near her home at 3015 3rd Avenue, across from Central Fort George Traditional School. She may have also been seen at the BX Pub at 5th and Kearney and Spruceland CIBC Bank around the time she went missing. RCMP said Sims was reported missing on Sunday, May 14, 2017, stated that they believe Sims' vehicle was used in her murder. Frances Brown, 53, missing Smithers, October 2017. Frances was last seen on Saturday, October 14, 2017, while out mushroom picking north of Smithers. The RCMP suspended all wilderness search efforts on October 21, 2017, at about nightfall. 19 search and rescue crews from around the province were called in, alongside RCMP and local volunteers, to make up what was the largest search operation in the region in years. Evidence of a campfire was discovered early on in the search, but rain and snow hampered the effort. Frances was raised by a trapper and described by family as an experienced backcountry explorer who spent decades searching for mushrooms in difficult terrain. She was prepared with adequate clothing, rain gear, long johns, hiking boots, etc., and had a lighter. She is deaf in one ear. Shawnee Sam, 39, homicide. Just before 2 a.m. on Thursday, June 21st, 2018, RCMP were called to the Yakoch Reserve west of Fort St. James, attending a call about an injured woman. When they arrived, they found Sam dead from an apparent gunshot wound. Sam hailed from Fort St. James. Martha Joseph was charged with manslaughter in connection to Sam's death and appeared in court the same day. Chantel Catherine Simpson, 34, unknown, 2018. Chantel was last seen alive in Tahlequah on Wednesday, July 4th, 2018. Her abandoned car was located on July 5th by RCMP near a gravel pit in Gossan Creek Street in Terrace. A missing person bulletin was released by the RCMP on July 7th, 2018. Her body was spotted in the Skeena River by a CN conductor. Her body was recovered by terrorist search and rescue on 22nd of July 2018 and identified by tattoos. Exact cause of death is not known to the public. Jessica Patrick, 18, homicide. Patrick was last seen in the Smithers McDonald's or the Mountain View Motel early August 31st, 2018. Jessica was reported missing on September 3rd, and an RCMP news release was put out 3 days later. News on her death was released before a public officially released identity of human remains found. Cynthia Martin, 50, missing, 2018. Last seen 23rd December 2018 at about 9 p.m. Family and friends consider her disappearance to be out of character, though RCMP said there was nothing to indicate foul play. The vehicle she was last seen driving was found locked near Hogwooljet Bridge. All these names, I swear. Near Hazleton. Members of Smithers-based Bulkley Valley Search and Rescue carried out an air search over the area on the 25th of December 2018 with helicopter assistance, but they didn't find any trace of her. Lauren Campbell Fabian, 69, missing, 2019, October. Lauren left her home on foot for a walk around noon on October 28, 2019. She was missing from around the Buck Flats area south of Houston. A search followed that involved SAR ground crews from other Smithers and Terrence, RCMP K-9 units, a plane, and the RCMP helicopter. No trace was found of the search was called off on November 2nd, 2019. Joy Morris, 62, homicide, March 2020, from Vanderhoof. At 1:57 p.m. on March 9, 2020, RCMP were called to a home for a wellness check. Upon arrival, RCMP found home owner Joy Morris deceased and called in the North District Major Crimes Unit. At the time, it was believed by RCMP that all people involved were known to each other. Unknown, Vanderhoof, 20 of May. On Sunday, May 3rd, 2020, at 8:30 p.m., RCMP pulled over a vehicle on Highway 16 near Landalusa Road, west of Vanderhoof. Police noticed a dead woman in the back seat of their vehicle and arrested the other 2 occupants. RCMP believed that all 3 occupants, including the deceased, were known to each other. RCMP said that the death is suspicious. Foul play was never quickly ruled out. That one still does not show anybody being prosecuted or anything for it. Jessie Mae Hayward Lyons, 26, homicide, Prince George, July 2020. At around 10 p.m. on July 3rd, 2020, emergency services received a call that the woman was stabbed near the Prince George courthouse and transported Lyons in the hospital, where she died soon afterwards. On September 10, 2021, a 56-year-old indigenous woman, Charlene Jane Alexander, was charged with first-degree murder in the death of Jessie Mae. Crystal Haynes Chambers, 34, homicide, Prince George, August 2020. Chambers' remains were found on the afternoon of Saturday, August 1st, 2020, 40 kilometers east of Prince George, near Highway 16. Their remains were retrieved with the assistance of Prince George Search and Rescue Society. An autopsy revealed the death was a result of homicide. Jason Troy Getty was arrested 17 December 2021 in Surrey, BC, and charged with 1 count of second-degree murder and 1 count of indignity to human remains in relation to the death of Crystal Chambers. Kristen Marion West, 36, homicide, Prince George, August 2021. West was an indigenous woman found in her apartment, 2000 block, 20 Avenue, by family members on August 7th, 2021. Family had reported her missing to RCMP sometime before. She had reported on social media that she had been harassed by a stalker and that RCMP was not doing an adequate job to protect her. A 36-year-old indigenous man, Dennis Daniel Gladue, was arrested shortly after the discovery of West's body, and charges with second-degree murder were placed. You know, one thing I have seen that they really like to assume that the women are night walkers. They also do really like to make sure to state that they were last seen at a party, or that their friends, were partying with them or something like that. Stuff like that does not matter. A murder is a murder. And it does not matter what the person is wearing, or where they were, or what job they may have. People are people. And the police, when it comes to all these women that is coming up missing, they really need to stop victim blaming. And I'm calling them all out. Like, I don't have their names specifically, but at some point I will. And I don't know. These families need to find justice. But that ends the list that I have so far for the Highway of Tears murders and the surrounding area to it. If I come up with any other ones, then I will do another video. But I'm going to start looking up some information on different areas, and I'm going to talk to a friend of mine that is there in that area, and hopefully she can give me a better insight on how the police deem a person, as a street walker. Like, what are their ways of getting out of not solving a crime, basically. Hopefully she can at least lead me to where I can find their way of thinking, because I don't know, their way of thinking isn't like mine apparently. But if you're in that area and you have any other information on any other victims that I have not mentioned throughout these 3 videos, please comment the name below. That person needs to be recognized, and awareness needs to be brought, even if it is just simply in a comment. A comment can go a long way in remembering somebody. So if you're in that area, stay safe.